Why smart people get ignored, and more importantly, how to fix it. I think you're all very smart. Last month, two people pitched the exact same idea in a meeting. One was brilliant, super knowledgeable, advanced degrees, and years of experience. The other was relatively new to the team. Guess whose ideas got picked? Surprisingly, it wasn't the experts. Today, I'm going to show you why smart people often get overlooked, and better yet, the simple fixes that can change how people respond to your ideas starting right away. Because, as I said, you are smart and you don't want to be overlooked. But first, let's talk about something that nobody mentions. Being smart doesn't guarantee that people will listen to you. Sometimes being the expert in the room can actually work against you. After working with thousands of really smart people, I've noticed something really interesting. The more someone knows about a topic, the more likely they are to communicate it in ways that actually make it harder for other people to appreciate their ideas. Now, I'm going to share 3 common mistakes that smart people make when sharing their ideas and simple ways to fix them. The first mistake is so common that I see it trip even the brightest of people. Yet it can be fixed with one simple change in how you communicate and connect with others. The first mistake smart people make is they have curse of knowledge. The term curse of knowledge was coined in 1989 in Journal of Political Economy article by economist Colin Cameron, George Loewenstein, and Martin Weber. Let me explain this using the example of James. What exactly is curse of knowledge? James is a brilliant tech expert at a software company. He constantly came up with great solutions to tough problems, but for some reason, his ideas really got any traction. During one important meeting, I noticed something interesting. When presenting his solution, he said something like this: "We need to completely overhaul our system architecture to address our scaling problems." Was he right? Absolutely. Did anyone act on his recommendation? Not at all. Here's what's happening. When you know a lot about something, you forget what it's like not to know it. It happens to me as well all the time. What seems crystal clear to you often sounds like a foreign language to everyone else, even smart people who just don't happen to know what you know. Here's how we fixed it for James. Instead of leading the technical solution, we restructured the communication using a framework I call context, problem, solution, benefit. Our customer base is growing faster than our current system can handle. That's context. Last month, we had 3 outages during peak usage time that cost us approximately $200,000 in revenue. That's a problem. I've developed an approach that will allow us to scale up instantly during high traffic periods. That's a solution. This means no more outages, happier customers, and protected revenue. That's the benefit. Notice what's the difference? He said what the problem was in simple terms before getting into the technicalities of how to fix it. The result? His idea was approved the very same day. It's the exact same idea, just communicated differently. The first principle alone can make a huge difference. But here's the second mistake that's even more common, and it might be the real reason why your great ideas aren't getting the attention they totally deserve. The second mistake is forgetting that people aren't just logical, they are emotional too. Here's what happens. When you're focused on solving a problem, it's easy to forget that decisions are made by real people with feelings and pressures and concerns that go beyond the specific problem that you're addressing in that particular moment. Let me share what happened with Sarah, a brilliant analyst who couldn't figure out why her thoroughly researched recommendations weren't being implemented. When I watched her in meetings, I noticed that while her analysis was spot on, she completely missed how people in the room were feeling. not just logical, but the feel factor. Her team was worried about budget cuts, increased pressures from higher ups, yet she presented her findings by saying, the data clearly shows we need to completely change how we handle customer service. What we are doing now is inefficient and outdated. Whilst she was technically right, her approach unintentionally made people defensive, especially those who had created the current process. Here's how we changed her approach. First, we thought about what's keeping these people up at night right now? What's their biggest concern? How might my recommendation affect their day-to-day work? What benefit would matter to them personally? With this in mind, Sarah completely changed how she presented the same information. I know we are all trying to hit our targets while working with tight resources. I've been looking at our customer service data to find ways we can get better results without spending more money or making things more complicated. I have found 3 small changes that could speed up our response time while actually reducing everyone's workload. Same recommendation, completely different response. Her ideas were not only approved, but championed by the very people who had previously just simply ignored her. But here's a third mistake that even the most people-savvy experts make, and it's often the deciding factor in whether your ideas gain traction or get lost in the noise. The third critical mistake is presenting information in a way that's hard for our brains to process. Even when smart people have great ideas and understand their audience needs, they often package their message in ways that don't match how people naturally think and remember information. Let me show you what happened with Janvi, a financial advisor whose recommendations were consistently overlooked despite being better than the alternatives. When I looked at how she presented to clients, I spotted the issue right away. She would say things like, based on my analysis of market trends and your risk profile, I recommend allocating your portfolio as follows: 40% in low-cost index funds, 30% in value-oriented dividend stocks, 20% in municipal bonds, and 10% in alternative investments. Sounds logical? Absolutely. Was it easy for her clients to understand and remember? Not even close. Here's what we know about how our brain works. We don't remember abstract information very well, but we remember stories, pictures, and examples way better. We transformed Janvi's approach completely. Picture your investment like a house built to withstand any weather. Picture. The foundation is made of stable investments that grow slowly but rarely lose value. That's about 40% of your house. Example. The frame is built from companies that pay you regular income, like collecting rent. That's another 30%. Example. Then we have the walls made of municipal bonds that help protect you from taxes. That's 20%, another example. Finally, there's the 10% portion that acts like a weather vane, helps us spot new opportunities. Example. The result? The number of clients who followed her advice were more than doubled in just 3 months. Same recommendations, just delivered in a way that matches how our brains naturally work. These 3 simple changes explaining why before how, considering feelings not just facts, and using examples instead of abstracts can completely transform how people respond to your ideas. Let me show you how to put them together into a simple approach you can use right away. Here's a step-by-step approach to make sure your smart ideas Never get ignored again. Step 1, before sharing any idea, ask yourself, why should these specific people care about what I am going to talk about? What problem does it solve for them personally? How does it connect to what's important to them right now? If you can't answer these questions in simple terms, really rethink your approach. Step 2, structure what you say using this simple framework. Context. Why is this important right now? Problem. What specific issue needs to be solved? Solution. What's your recommendation? Benefit. How will it make things better for them? Step 3. Use examples and comparisons to make complex ideas easy to understand. Find a familiar example that connects with your idea. Use simple language that creates a picture in people's mind. Let me show you how this works in real life. Instead of saying, our customer acquisition cost is too high relative to lifetime value, you might say, right now we spend $100 to bring in each new customer, but those customers only generate $80 in profit over their lifetime. It's like buying a machine for $100 that only produces $80 worth of output. We lose money with every sale. When my client Jennifer used this approach in her next leadership meeting, she told me, for the first time, I didn't have to fight to get people to understand. They were asking how quickly we could implement my recommendation. Remember these principles. These principles can help you immensely. When you're an expert, you forget what it's like not to know what you know. People make decisions based on emotions as much as facts. Simple examples and stories are more powerful than abstract concepts. But here's what really matters. Being smart isn't enough to be influential. Having the best ideas doesn't matter if no one understands or acts on them. The most successful people aren't just the ones with the best ideas. They're the ones who can share those ideas in ways that connect with others. The techniques I've shared aren't about dumbing your message. They're about bridging the gap between what you know and what others need to hear. When you do this consistently, you don't just get heard, you become the person others turn to for answers. What's your experience with having good ideas overlooked? Share in the comments below. I'd love to help you apply these principles to your specific situation. And if you want more tips for making sure your expertise gets recognition it totally deserves, hit that subscribe button. In the coming videos, I'm sharing instantly make people pay attention to what you have to say. Till then, as always, stay storied.